treatment team deciding that they should not be around each other. So Ms. Heard returned to Los Angeles, and Mr. Depp stayed in Australia for how long, I don't recall.
I'm not saying it's a problem for Johnny Depp. Yes, I see Amber writing or doing something too. Someone asked about Johnny Depp, so I'm answering.
Insist that JD stay quiet without any distraction for the rest of the week while we get his medications organized and balanced. None of this will be accepted by her, but I will be very upset. You can tell her this. If there is any stress created by a visit, that's premature. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you have any understanding as to why Dr. Kipper was directing you to provide this excuse to Ms. Heard?
Again, just the general sense that there was a major argument in Australia, which I wasn't present for, and separating because of that.
Did you have any understanding as to why Dr. Kipper stated that none of this will be accepted by Ms. Heard?
I would be speculating on that, but you know, we use joking terminology.
What?
Based on your experience treating Ms. Heard at this time in March of 2015, would you agree, or did you agree with Dr. Kipper that Ms. Heard would not accept not seeing Mr. Depp for a period of time?
I don't know specifically. As I think we talked about much earlier this morning, there was generally a sense of arguing, reconciling, and that sort of cycle happening frequently throughout their relationship.
If we could please go back to the nursing notes, which are Exhibit 2.
Yeah, Mr. Mink, I did an entire show on the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade last night for several hours, which is why I'm tired today. It's not actually more newsworthy than Johnny Depp because it hasn't happened yet.
Could we please go back to the
may not happen
entries from March 2015 that are on the page with the base number 16952? Now, we covered this earlier, but it says in your March 9th, 2015 entry, it says client states she would like to discuss recent events between her and husband with RN in private tomorrow. Do you see that?
I think it will happen. It's just possible to
Yes,
not yet until the opinion is
Directing
published.
your attention to the entry for March 10th, 2015. It says RN met client at home at 1600. Does that refresh your recollection that you did meet with her the next day?
No, it doesn't refresh my recollection. However, I would refer to my nursing note.
Do you have any reason to doubt that these notes are accurate?
No.
Do you recall what Ms. Heard showed any injuries to you on that at that time?
No, I don't recall any injuries.
Okay. Can we go back to Exhibit 2, which is the nursing notes, and specifically the entry for March 25th, 2015. Just go back up to the top of this entry for March 25th, please. And I just want to ask you about one more part of this. It says, states she is concerned about ability to trust fiance following argument on March 23rd, 2015. Do you have any recollection of Ms. Heard expressing concern about her ability to trust Mr. Depp?
I would say I have a generalized memory of there being, as I stated before, jealousy and anxiety issues, including mistrust within the relationship.
Do you recall Ms. Heard ever telling you that she thought Mr. Depp was cheating on her?
Only every 8 minutes.
No, I don't recall that specifically. I just, as I've said, have a general sense of remembering jealousy being an issue.
If we could, okay, I think, do you recall us talking about visiting Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp for Thanksgiving earlier today?
Yes.
Does anything stand out in your mind as from that Thanksgiving dinner that you can recall?
Nothing really stands out other than it was, I sort of have a general sense of it being a really jovial, fun time together.
Do you recall how long you stayed at the dinner?
Not specifically, I would assume a few hours.
Could we please just quickly go to the note from November? This is in Exhibit 2, and then entry for November 26, 2015, which is on page 16954.
Please stand by.
We're gonna get there, chat. We're gonna get through this chick, and then we're golden. Home free. There will never be another video deposition until the next one. It'll be perfect. Colosine says, I don't think these testimonials help them either side. This one has been effectively pointless. I mean, it showed that Amber Heard had cocaine abuse problems and alcohol abuse problems. It showed that she's jealous and controlling.
Ms. Bellotti, directing your
That's
attention
about
to
it.
the entry for November 26, 2015. You you recall seeing this entry earlier today?
Yes.
And I believe you testified that this is the entry from the Thanksgiving dinner that you spent with Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp.
I believe it is.
You see in the middle where it says JG appeared calm and coherent.
I do.
Is that accurate to your recollection of that evening?
And I don't remember that specifically, but I just remember a general sense of it being a fun, happy evening.
So this is consistent with your recollection of that evening.
I would make that assumption.
And you have no reason to doubt the accuracy of your note, correct? Directing your attention
You know who's
to the
really terrible?
December
That good logic guy.
17th, 2015 entry.
What a shyster he is.
Will you just take a minute and read this over and confirm whether strike that. Do you recall going and visiting Ms. Heard on December 17th, 2015?
I remember it in so much as my nursing notes regarding this night.
The term is putz.
I can't say that I recall much more than I have here, but I do remember visiting her.
It says here that the client had visible bright red blood appearing at center of lower lip. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you, other than the blood on Ms. Heard's lip, do you recall seeing any other injuries to her on that date?
I don't recall other than what I state.
Do you recall examining Ms. Heard's lip at all?
I don't think I examined it other than a visual examination. I didn't physically examine her lip.
The note says here, client also stated her head is bruised and that she lost clumps of hair in altercation. RN briefly looked at client's scalp, but was unable to visualize hematomas client had described. Is that what you wrote in your note?
Yes.
If you had observed the bruises or hematomas that Ms. Hurd had described, would that have been reflected in your note?
Would assume, but again, I'm not trained in looking for those types of injuries, which is why my note continues that I encourage her to be seen by a professional that is trained to do so.
Can we drop down to the next page? And this is just the end portion of this note.
And yes, by the way, I know my camera's blinking. I've ordered a new card. It's coming in on Thursday.
Client to hydrate with oral fluids and to limit abstain from alcohol. Client was consuming red wine with RN left, but assured RN she would consume in moderation.
I'll only drink a little.
Is that what you wrote in your note?
It is, and I believe I miswrote there. Probably it should say client was consuming red wine when RN left, not with, just to clarify.
Why would you advise Ms. Hurd on this occasion to limit, or why did you advise Ms. Hurd to limit or abstain from alcohol on this occasion?
I don't recall why I would be speaking to limit or abstain from alcohol on this occasion.
The redactions could either be another client of the nurse or irrelevant.
Based on your nursing notes, you were aware
data
that
about
Ms.
medical
Hurd
treatment
claimed to have
that's
been
not
injured by
germane to
Mr.
the
Depp
case.
in December of 2015, right?
Correct.
And you went and actually saw her shortly after that alleged incident, correct?
Not that same day, but possibly the following day, I believe.
And you, on that occasion, you observed that she had a bloody lip, correct?
Correct.
And she told you that that was a result of the altercation with Mr. Depp, right?
Right.
If she had had any other injuries on that occasion, would you have recorded them in your nursing notes?
Make that assumption based upon my other notes that reference the blood on her lip.
Exhibit 2 in the nursing notes for April 21st, 2016, which page number? Which is on page number 16957. Where it says, RN socialized with JD for 45 minutes. JD appeared coherent, oriented, and sociable, thought process logical and clear. Do you have any reason to doubt that that's accurate? That's an accurate description of Mr. Depp on that date?
Jessica, I apologize. Can you just use your cursor to help me see the note that you were just reading?
It's sorry, I actually don't have control of it, but it's down towards the middle. It says RN socialized with JD at times 45 minutes. JD appeared coherent, oriented, and sociable.
Oh, yes, I see it. Thank you.
Thought process, logical, and clear.
9 minutes. 9 minutes and 8 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was your question?
So excited.
Do you have any reason to doubt that that's an accurate description of how Mr. Depp appeared to you on April 21st, 2016?
I have no reason to doubt it. I would stand by my notes.
You knew that Mr. Depp was being treated for substance abuse issues by Dr. Kipper and Nurse Deputy Lloyd, correct?
Yes.
If Mr. Depp had appeared intoxicated on this occasion, is that something that you would have documented?
If it had been outwardly visible for either client, I would have made reference to that.
If we could go back to the nursing notes, exhibit 2, please. And if we could go down to the entry for May 11. Ms. Lottie, we looked at this, you looked at this entry earlier today, correct?
Correct.
Directing your attention to just a couple lines down, it says, client discussed her birthday trip to Coachella Music Festival. Trip was April 22nd, 2016.
Imagine unironically going to Coachella.
Client admits to illicit drug use during the trip and states she ingested mushrooms and MDMA simultaneously, while also consuming alcohol, and states she vomited and was, quote, high for at least 24 hours straight, end quote. You see that?
Yes, I do see that.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Do you recall, well, first of all, do you recall Ms. Heard relaying this to you?
I don't recall these specifics that I see here in the note, but I remember sort of a conversation talking about the trip after they had.
And this starts out, client admits to illicit drug use. So, am I correct that this is based on these notes? This is something that's heard reported to you directly.
Again, I don't remember these specifics. However, my
usage
of client admits refers to client reporting something to me.
Had Ms. Heard ever admitted to illicit drug use to you before this time?
I
thank God.
In reference to my nursing notes.
What's up, man?
From when I.
What's up, buddy?
For
the nurse.
It was for you.
I'm here, buddy. What's up?
Previous.
This
It
is
works.
brutal. She's
Thanks.
almost done.
I'm one of those, just look at my notes, I don't have
Drug
them.
use will not be tolerated by medical staff, and that any medication or drugs that are not prescribed can interfere and cause adverse effects with her prescribed medication. Client laughed and also reported using illicit drugs, mushrooms, and MDMA on May 9, 2016, along with high-profile salesmen. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Do you recall Ms. Heard laughing in response to your reminder about illicit drug use?
No, I don't recall that.
You can't tell me not to do drugs. I'm a celebrity.
Did you ever see Ms. Heard? Did you ever see Ms. Heard physically abuse Mr. Depp?
Say yes.
Did you ever see Ms. Heard throw anything at Mr. Depp in the previous care for her?
I did not do that. In the time that you treated her, did you ever see Ms. Heard lose her temper? As we talked previously,
Jacob.
the one incident
Jacob Teller.
is in London, 2014. Yes, 2014. In regards to being hacked and sensitive material being leaked.
Did you ever feel that
Wait, was
Ms.
Amber Heard in the
was,
happening?
hostile towards you at any time during your treatment of her?
Oh, from a live stream? I was wondering.
Did you ever feel like she was ignoring attempts by you to contact her?
Yes, I have a general memory of
Okay then.
often.
Pick up. That's what that
From,
was.
from the other guy, Roy, you know.
Where I would reach out and not get a response. I remember
Someone says, yeah, I fapped over her. Oh no.
When have you treated domestic violence victims prior to this time?
The time that I worked with them was in nursing school.
It's nearly
I
over.
don't want to say the specific place
then
for
hopefully Amber's up.
reasons, but it was for domestic violence victim. Sort of a safe house.
Lottie, do you remember when we were treating Miss Heard that at some point she had a zip on her eyelid?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
And you remember that he had a procedure to have that zip removed?
Yes.
And was that a surgical procedure to your recollection?
From what I recall, that was handled at
2
They
minutes.
take the behold when Amber
outpatient surgical center.
understand they're gonna turn.
Other than
They're gonna turn on your post and them and tear the pieces.
specific process.
Wait, is this removed on
Do
the
you
eyelids?
recall
or
whether Miss
that could be
Heard had
bruising?
any marks around her eye after having that procedure?
I don't recall. I remember.
I go and get a quick drink here and then before she
being
make sure
eye,
she's on.
but I don't recall.
Emma Capri.
Or maybe an allergic reaction that causes redness.
At this point, the questioning switches back to counsel for Ms. Heard. Sorry.
For 1 minute?
Do you say
Yeah.
1993?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is another picture of Amber from May 21st, 2016.
Correct. This is a picture of Ms. Heard.
And Amber sent you this text on May 21st, 2016.
I believe so based on the timestamp.
And the same for this picture on the next page. Amber sent you this picture of her.
Correct.
And the same for this picture?
And the same for this page, the next page. Amber sent you.
You already went through
May
these.
21st.
And the same for
When
this
you,
one? Oh, he's not gonna go through the fourth.
when you saw Amber on December 17th, 2015, and you spoke about that, how long were you with her? Do you recall?
Don't recall. I would assume based on the fact that I stopped by briefly, maybe an hour or two.
Did you go inside her house, or were you outside the door?
From what I recall, I was inside
Okay.
the house, yes.
By the way, when you saw Amber on December 17th, was she wearing makeup or not? Do you recall?
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't recall.
All right, thank you. Before we get to the next witness, could I have counsel approach on the plaintiff's 46?
Oh, thank goodness. We're done with that lady. I'm gonna confess, Chad. I got nothing out of her testimony. I don't remember it. It's not engaging. It was.
So the one thing I liked is the MDMA and mushrooms at Coachella where she was puking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is going to be something that Johnny's team can use to show like she wasn't just abused, even though one of Heard's lawyers in his questioning, it's so wrong of her after her husband abuses her to want to go have fun with her friends. It's like I don't think that's mostly how the victims of the Me Too movement are responding, but I could be wrong.
Well, I know every time my husband beats me, I go to Coachella, eat a bunch of mushrooms, and do it.
Violence.
Michael Spindler.
All right, Mr.
Spindler.
Has he lost?
Yes.
Michael Spindler.
Here we go.
Yes. An egg-shaped man. Those are always devastating. MDMA is like crushed up, from what I understand, crushed up ecstasy that you like put in your. Johnny Depp described it like you dip your
The
finger
nose
in it.
is
I don't know. I thought
Amber's
it was little
nose,
white pills,
but
whatever.
Johnny's
But apparently MDMA is
witness.
ecstasy, but slightly different consumption.
It's Amber's nose, but Johnny's witness.
It's just ecstasy. Okay, well, Johnny Depp described them having a crush, like a bag of MDMA powder that they would dip their fingers in communally, which sounded like how you get herpes. Nick feigning ignorance. You wouldn't catch my ass on ecstasy ever. I went to raves. I saw what happened to those people. It's terrible.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you state your name for the record?
Michael Spindler.
Spindler?
Where do you live?
I live in the Los Angeles, California area.
Yes.
What's your occupation?
I'm a forensic accountant.
What do you mean by forensic accountant?
A forensic accountant does accounting work that's a bit more investigative in nature. So it's essentially taking a look at business records and accounting records in connection with some form of business issue.
Oh,
How long
money.
have you worked in that field?
We're gonna dig into Amber Heard's money.
Full-time since 1990.
What did you do before that?
Before that, I spent about 10 years. as
What's his
an
hourly rate, Nick? What's your guess?
This
Can
guy,
you describe your educational background?
Yes, I graduated in 1981 from
650.
the State University of New York at Albany.
I was going to say
That's like science
600.
degree in
Less than
accounting
Mr. White,
and a minor in economics.
who was 7
Are
something.
you currently employed?
I am.
Who's your employer?
Chad was the
Advisory
attorney
Services.
yesterday's
975. I love it. I hope all my clients
It's a
watch.
national forensic accounting boutique firm that does forensic accounting, business valuations,
accountant?
appraisals, and bankruptcy and restructuring work.
How long have you been employed at URI?
Since January of 2015.
What did you do for work prior to URI?
Well, it's a long career, so I'll give you the highlights. I spent about 30 years with national accounting firms as partner at 2 different firms, and also was involved
I don't know.
with a couple of forensic accounting boutique firms.
Okay.
Might be
Do you
Amber.
have any certifications?
I
Wait a minute.
What are they?
I'm a certified public accountant with licenses from 6 states: New York, California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and Hawaii. I'm also certified in financial forensics. I'm a certified fraud examiner.
Oh,
I'm accredited in business valuation.
Ford.
And a
After
certified
that?
money laundering specialist.
Do you participate in any professional
Are you a
organizations?
Money laundering
I do.
specialist.
What are those?
Well, I've had leadership positions in a couple of them.
Yeah, sounds like a-
Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I was president of the Los Angeles chapter, and I'm currently on their board. I've been actively involved with the California Society of CPAs. I was the president of the Los Angeles chapter and had 11,000 members at the time. Was also on Cal CPA Council, which is kind of their board of directors, and also member of the board of trustees of.
You know, I think it's
Foundation.
Johnny stayed doing the cross examination.
I have.
Approximately how many times?
About 100 times, roughly. About half of that in trials and arbitrations.
As he looks at the jury.
Typically, it can take
100 times. Did you guys hear that?
Commonly, I will testify with respect to damages.
Have you done any film industry work?
Yes, I have.
What was that?
I said I specialize in money laundering.
Film studios, and I've also done work on behalf of writers, directors, producers, actors, studio executives.
Your Honor, I'd like to proffer Mr. Spindler as an expert forensic accountant.
All right, any objection? All right, so.
Man, they did that quick. Good work.
He just went through the highlights, which I like.
What would you do in this case?
Sometimes they'll sit there and belabor their
Well, in this case, I
qualifications
would
for
have to take a
days.
look at issues with respect to lost earnings for Mr. Depp.
Uh-oh.
In particular, did you do?
been waiting for specifics
I
on
looked
this.
at accounting records that were produced by Mr. Depp's accounting firm at White and Company. I looked at trial exhibits, I looked at deposition testimony, I looked at some trial testimony, and I looked at various other documents and exhibits.
What specific already did you analyze with respect to the loss earnings?
I looked at the period following the publication of the op-ed. So I looked at the period from December 18th, 2018 through October 31st, 2020.
What materials did you review?
I looked at the accounting records that have been produced by Mr. Depp's accountants.
Any other materials?
Various deposition transcripts, trial testimony, contracts.
Did he say from 2018 to 2020 only?
Yeah,
So not before?
I think so.
I thought that's no.
Included that Mr. Depp suffered lost earnings of approximately $40 million.
Oh, I think
Well, there are really two main components to that.
40 million.
The first relates to the loss of the role of Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirate 6 film. So the loss related to the loss of that role in that franchise picture was $22.5 million based on testimony provided by Mr. Jack Wiggum. In addition,
We need an expert for that.
Did you do anything else?
Jack Wiggum was the. Oh wait, no, he wasn't the next.
No, this guy's the expert
Yeah.
telling us because he said that. He
also
lost 22.5 million.
calculated the
Yeah.
net earnings that Mr. Depp would have received from that.
Okay. And what did you base your analysis of Pirate 6 on?
Based on the testimony of Mr. Jack Wiggum.
Okay. What else did you do with respect to the lost earning analysis? Did you do?
Well, the other main component to this is taking a look at all the other roles, the non-franchise films. So those films, studio films, independent films, and endorsements that Mr. Depp realizes and enjoys. So in connection with that, we looked at his bookings for the year 2017. And by bookings, I mean instances where Mr. Depp is hired for a project. And he receives that first money related to that project in 2017. So, in other words, you've got a deal, and cash has showed up, so it's real. So we looked at his 2017 bookings, and we calculated for that year, for that period, his bookings were about $17.5 million. The main components of that, Mr. Wiggum testified to. We then looked at the period of time following the op-ed of December 18, 2018 through October 31st, 2020. So if annual earnings was $17.5 million in what is known as a typical year,
Yep.
a reasonable base year, at that rate, what would we have expected Mr. Depp to have earned from that period of October 18, 2018 through October 31st, 2020? And we then compared that to his bookings, his actual bookings for that period of time.
Why did you use 2017 as a typical base year?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, Mr. Wiggum testified that that was a typical year for Mr. Depp. And it's also the most recent clean year that was experienced. In 2018, you had the publication of the op-ed. That didn't happen in 2017.
Did you do anything, did you prepare anything to assist the jury with respect to the analysis that you performed?
We did prepare a chart, yes.
You know, this guy is like super stuffy accountant, except on the weekends where he just cuts loose at every party. He's like naked, jumping off of roofs into pools. He's just eating MDMA by the gallon. I don't know if that's how you do it, but.
Your Honor, I think this is plaintiff exhibit 1240. I'm going to
Johnny?
Moving in evidence, I'm simply just going to use, with your permission, publish it to the jury so that the witness can explain.
Any objections to demonstrative 1240? All right, demonstrative, well, do you have electronic copy of it? Okay, that's fine.
Very conclusive.
Oh,
I am
Black and white.
people working under my direction from my firm.
black and white. What have we got?
No, an expert said it, so it's true.
Explain to the jury what you've done here.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, as we discussed previously, Mr. Depp lost the role in Pirates 6, and the effect of that was lost earnings of $22.5 million based on Mr. Wiggins' testimony. And then what we've shown here is the 10% agent commission. That would
Why
have
did you
been,
deduct 10%?
because that's the rate for Mr. Depp's agent. That's what his agent receives out of Mr. Depp's earnings in connection with setting up a project for Mr. Depp.
That's the only fee he pays?
Got that 10%, which comes to $2,250,000.
To the agent?
Well, but they're saying that's, his net is everything minus what he pays the agent.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he pays lawyers to look at stuff, and the guy that was wearing the hat with the long gray hair,
Security, yeah.
they all eat off of this 22 million, but.
High five for me, yeah.
In terms of the analysis of lost bookings for the non-franchise films.
Okay, so that's the next section of the chart. And as I mentioned before, his 2017 bookings were about $17.5 million. So that rate of earnings over the period from mid-December through the end of October 2020, or mid-December 2018 through the end of October 2020, would come to about $32.8, $32.9 million. We then compared that to actual bookings during that period of time, of mid-December 2018 through the end of October 2020. That amount was $10,586,000. We deducted those bookings, the actual amounts, from what we would have expected to arrive at his lost bookings for non-franchise activity, and that comes to about $22.3 million. And once again, we've deducted the 10% agent's commission. So the net effect of lost earnings to Mr. Depp after that agent's fee for non-pirate films comes to about $20 million.
Yeah, they have to.
Figure at the bottom corner of the chart, $40,318. $40,318,237. What does that represent?
Well, that's your grand total. That's the sum of those two components for total lost earnings.
You have to prove that money.
No
Amber.
question.
Kick them in the balls for that one.
Simple.
There's a lot to get on cross for this guy, though.
Yep.
Like
That's
he said,
it.
he was going to spend time with his family in 2018, COVID hit 2020.
Here we go. The
Such a
clown.
fee.
This lawsuit isn't the first time you've worked with Johnny Depp, is it?
It is not.
You've worked with him in a lawsuit that he had in the past with his old law firm, correct?
Yes, just a little bit of work, yes.
And so in this second go-around as a paid expert for Mr. Depp, you're making what, $550 an hour is what he's paying you? Is that right?
That's
What?
the amount my firm
So
is.
this wins, although without going over, we both lose.
Now, the subject matter of your opinion testimony in this case is the economic damages that Mr. Depp has allegedly suffered as a result of Ms. Heard's December 8, 2018 op-ed, correct?
Correct, yes.
And this is the first case in which you testified as an expert relating to economic damages claimed by an actor, correct?
First time I've testified to, but I've done that work before.
And you understand that this case is about only whether Ms. Heard's December 18, 2018 op-ed constitutes defamation.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
Yep.
That's my understanding.
And you understand that this case isn't about anything else Ms. Heard has ever said or done, correct?
Objection calls for legal conclusion.
I believe that's correct.
And to be clear, you were testifying only as to alleged damages, right?
Correct.
So you are not offering any opinion or any testimony on whether those specific damages that you just discussed were caused by the op-ed, correct?
That's correct.
And you're assuming for the purposes of your report that the damages that you're testifying about were caused by Amber's op-ed, correct?
Yes.
So you're therefore not looking into whether anything else that's happened with Mr. Depp's life or career could have caused him economic damages, correct?
I believe that's generally correct, yes.
So you're not looking at whether the article published in the UK in June 2018 calling Mr. Depp a wife beater caused him damages, correct?
Correct.
You're not looking at whether the lawsuit that he brought in the UK against the publisher of that article caused him those damages, right?
Correct.
You're not looking at any of the evidence that came out in that lawsuit about alleged instances of abuse against Amber, correct?
Correct.
You're not looking at whether the consequences of Mr. Depp's drug and alcohol use have
Oh
caused
no!
him
Oh
damages.
no! Simmons.
Correct.
You're not looking at whether the worsening performance of box office of Mr. Depp's movies over time has caused him the damages that you're testifying about, correct?
Correct. And I'm not acknowledging any of this being accurate. I'm just saying that wasn't part of my calculations.
Sure, I understand. I just want to make clear what you did look at, what you're not.
Well, there's a whole list
So,
of
to
infinity
round out,
things that he
you're
did
not
look at.
considering even the impact of Amber obtaining a restraining order in May 2016 and whether that may have caused damages. That's not part of your opinion, correct?
Well, since we were taking a look at lost bookings,
Actually, yes.
using 2017 as a base year, any activity that preceded that would have been baked into those calculations.
Great
That way.
answer.
And we'll get
Very
to
good
those
answer there.
calculations in a minute.
He's doing a good job on cross, although these are good questions from Rottenborn as well.
But first I want to talk about Pirate 6, because that's basically the two components of your damages is Pirate 6 and then
Yep, yeah, indeed.
non-franchise lost bookings, right?
Correct.
So for Pirate 6 specifically, you assume that he would have made $22.5 million on Pirate 6, right?
Correct.
On testimony.
And you took Jack Wiggum's word for it in making that assumption, correct?
I based it on his testimony, yes.
And you never saw a contract that Mr. Depp had with Pirate 6, correct?
Correct.
Because
I hate when lawyers do this.
to your knowledge, correct?
So far as I know, I've not seen one.
And you didn't take into consideration Jack Wiggum's testimony that Disney was non-committal about Mr. Depp being in Pirate 6 even before the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't take into consideration the press articles that came out prior to the op-ed that suggested that Disney had made a decision not to cast Mr. Depp in Pirate 6, correct?
Correct.
And you have no idea whether Pirate 6 will ever be made, right?
I wouldn't know that.
You have no idea if Disney
I like this
decided
guy's
one way
demeanor.
or the other whether Mr. Depp would be in it or whether they'd offer him a role in it if it is ever made, correct?
Well, my understanding is that they made a public statement that he would not.
And you have, if
I
Disney
focused so
decided
heavily
to
on that
be in
public
it,
statement.
You have no idea when they decided that, correct?
I know that there was a public announcement subsequent to the publication of the op-ed.
What public announcement are you talking about?
I believe there was an interview of Mr. Bailey that was published several days after.
Oh, okay, well, that interview with Mr. Bailey didn't say that he wasn't going to be in it. In fact, if you looked at the article that the jury saw the headline for yesterday, dated November 5th, 2020, about Mr. Depp potentially not being in Pirate 6. Have you looked at that article? I assume not.
No.
Okay. And you
Why
didn't
did you
say that he wouldn't do
You
Pirate 6
assume not?
$300 million and $1 million on Fox, correct?
That sounded like hyperbole to me. I didn't take that very seriously.
Okay.
It sounded like somebody who was a bit hurt or in pain as
So,
a result of the loss of the role.
so if Mr. Depp didn't lose a role in Pirate 6 because of the op-ed,
Yeah, Dave.
but he
A
lost
lot
for
of
other
hearsay.
reasons, then
It
your
depends if you
damages
jumped up.
opinion relating to Pirate 6 would drop to $0, correct?
I believe that's correct. If it's not
If
lost
everything you
for
believe is wrong,
loss
your
for
opinion
any
is wrong.
other independent reason, then I think that would need to be considered.
Okay, thank you. Now let's shift gears and talk about the non-franchise earnings for a moment. You claim this number is about $21 million, right? Roughly.
20.
We'll pull it up. Well, actually,
Jamie, pull that up.
we'll look at the chart here. $20 million, about $20 million after agent fees.
Correct.
Okay. And to reach that number, you looked at what his historical earnings record showed, right?
Correct.
Guys, they're not talking about beefs because Depp got paid for beefs.
From Ed White's office.
Yes,
He recorded one line. He got paid like $10 million.
Was accurate, right?
I did, yes.
Can we please pull up the chart that's in this expert report? Your Honor, this is, or Mr. Spindler, I'd like you to take a look at this and confirm for the court that this is the chart that's in your expert report. If you would.
It appears to be, yes.
Your Honor, I ask for permission to publish this just as a demonstrative.
Any
No
objection?
objection.
All right.
I hate when lawyers pretend that contracts are immediately manifested when a deal is made.
Wait,
And they
that's
have
So,
anything
Mr.
to do with it.
Spindler,
No negotiation is real
That's
without the
earnings
contract.
by year based on the information that you received from Ed White, correct?
Correct.
From 2009 to 2020.
Yes.
And it shows that from about 2009 to 2019, and I didn't add these up visually, but from your report, you say that Mr. Depp made about $459 million. Correct?
Correct.
Now, the two highest earning years in this time period were 2010 and 2011, right?
Yes.
You can see that, made about $70 million in 2010.
I do.
And
Yes.
the third highest year was 2014, right?
Yes.
Made under 60 million. And you'd agree that from the period 2010 to 2020, his annual income on average was decreasing.
Yes, we have to take a look at the components of this.
Right.
And
And in
as
2000, I was just wanted to get your agreement that in 2010 to
He want the
2020,
break it
his annual
down.
income was decreasing. Now, in 2020, he earned more than he did in 2016, correct?
On an overall basis, yes.
And in 2020, he earned more than he did in 2018, correct?
Yes, just based on earnings.
And in 2018 and 2019, he earned almost identical amount, correct?
Yes.
And
just based on
2019 and
earnings.
2020 were both after the publication date of the op-ed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now I want to talk about some of these non-franchise.
He can't wait to explain this on rebuttal.
When I
Nope.
read the chart that was displayed to the jury, I didn't see anything specific listed. So can you just confirm for me that you can't
Them
name a
talk,
single
I-
lost business opportunity other than Pirate 6 that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the op-ed?
That's correct. That's not the
You can't
nature of this.
identify
Yeah,
official
of course you did.
television, you could just.
Yeah, the habit of
His
good now.
smile seems so genuine when Rottenborn's manager. I like this guy's demeanor a lot.
Yeah.
Mr. Depp allegedly lost out on as a result of the op-ed, correct?
Correct. That's not the
And
nature
you
of this.
can't identify a single advertising campaign or marketing opportunity that Mr. Depp lost out on as a result of the op-ed, correct?
Right. These are the calls.
So it's fair to say that for the for
Rottenborn's trying to mix expertise on purpose here.
you're assuming, as with Pirate 6, that those opportunities were lost because of the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Now, you mentioned something interesting in your direct and in your
I know.
report. You say that you used 2017 as the base year to calculate what you claim Mr. Depp should have earned in 2019 and 20, correct?
Correct.
And let's take a look at this, because 2017, he made that much, correct? About 45 million or so?
Yes.
But in 2016, he made just a shade over 20, correct?
Correct.
2018, he made a shade under 20, right?
Yes.
Same with 2019, right?
Correct.
And then 2020, he actually made more than he had prior 2 years or in 2016 and made about, what, 22, 23 million or so? Is that right?
Right, but as I indicated, this is just based on earnings you get behind.
Right. So you said, there were a couple interesting things you said. You said that the most recent, that 2017.
It's like a 30 there.
First of all, you
I mean,
said
it
that
should be
you
obvious.
Jack Wiggum's testimony that 2017.
Closest in time, I mean,
Not the money you
he's
get
gonna be
for
45
that.
million.
In 2017, he made more than twice as much as he's made in any year over the last 5 years, correct?
Yes,
And
but when you take a look at where, if I can
No.
finish this thought.
Well, I want to get to your thoughts because you
I don't
said
know why
the
judges
reason
No, he doesn't.
you used 2017 was because it was you said I wrote down the most
Of course,
recent
you're right.
year, right?
Correct.
And then I think you explained you said because the op-ed was written in 2018, right?
Correct.
But the op-ed wasn't written until December 18th, 2018, correct?
And the year.
So the first, if 2017 was clean, then the first 352 days of 2018 were also clean, weren't they, sir?
If I may explain, Mr. Wiggum testified that for the first half of 2018, Mr. Depp chose to take some vacation time. Also, he chose to go touring in the summer with his band, and then he did a film towards the end of 2018. With the publication of the op-ed in December of 2018, that would have impacted the prospects for that film that was done in 2018. So he chose to do just the one film in 2018. And then the impact of the op-ed on that film would have meant that it was not a clean period. You could not have looked at that film to get a good sense of what his earnings should have been, because he didn't have a chance to earn box office bonuses or profit participations. So that's why this is a much better year to use than 2018.
Well, let's break that down. I think let's break that down a little bit. You said that 2017 was a much cleaner year, but isn't it also true that there were other reasons why 2018 wasn't? For example, the June or the April 2018 article by Dan Wooten calling Mr. Depp a white beater, correct?
That did occur in that year, yeah.
The June 2018 lawsuit that Mr. Depp filed in the UK against the Sun for calling him a white beater, correct?
Yes.
And how about the October articles reporting that Disney had decided to move on from Mr. Depp and not cast him in Pirates 6, correct?
Husband beater, yep.
I'm sorry, what did that have?
After the article
It
line.
came before the op-ed, so it's another reason why 2018 isn't a clean year in mind, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
No, those aren't the
Before the
reasons
op-ed,
why.
article 2 months before the
Oh.
op-ed saying that Disney decided not to cast Mr. Depp. That would also keep 2018 from being what you would call a clean year, correct?
I've described the reasons why I believe 2018 was not a clean year.
Okay. Now, you're aware, as we talked about, that Amber's op-ed wasn't published until December 18, 2018, correct?
Correct.
So, Mr. Depp could not have lost out on any opportunities as a result of the op-ed prior to December 18, 2018, correct?
Correct.
And he couldn't have lost out on any opportunities in 2017 as a result of the op-ed. Fair?
Fair.
And he couldn't have lost out on any opportunities in 2016 as a result of the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And so,
Question on redirect, though. Did you consider the
Hello?
timing of the op-ed in your calculation?
2016.
Yes.
you didn't use 2018, but you chose to use 2017, correct?
Yes.
And
for very
Mr.
good
Depp
reason.
still made more in 2018 than he did in both 2016 and 2018 before the op-ed was published, correct?
Correct. And that's just based on earnings.
All right, redirect?
What do you mean just based on earnings? Tell me about that.
There we go.
You explained 2018. Why didn't you use 2016?
Well, first of all, 2017 was a more recent year. 2017 was a year in which Mr. Wiggum indicated that that was a typical year for Mr. Depp. He had a studio film, he had an independent film, he had an endorsement deal.
Yep. Take 40 times.
2016 is further back in time. As I understand, his earnings capacity for that year would have been just the same or higher than 2017.
You want one more jump up again?
There was
Talking
a
about.
deal that Mr. Depp passed on that would have been worth a lot of money, according to Ms. Jacobs. So 2017 made the most sense.
Why did you ultimately use the method that you did to determine the loss earnings?
Ask him about that.
Because it doesn't make sense. It's the correct approach to take. You're taking a look at what Mr. Depp would have been expected to earn in a typical year, and then you're comparing that to the period of time where you're analyzing following the op-ed from December of 2018 through October of 2020. So you're taking a look at what you would have expected him to earn. Very simple compared to what he actually did earn.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Is this witness subject to recall?
Not great.
All right. So since you're subject to recall, do not discuss your testimony with anybody, but since you are giving expert testimony, you're free to stay in the courtroom, okay? Sir, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good time.
Watch your step.
I think they could have done better on redirect there. Not belaboring it too much.
All right.
There were better questions.
Plaintiff rest.
Take our morning recess, maybe a
Oh,
little.
he's just
over.
plaintiff rest.
Issues take up with the attorneys, but then we'll proceed after that, okay? So please do not talk about the case, do not do any outside research, okay?
Good time.
That means Heard's gonna purportedly take the stand first, which I think is a terrible idea.
That is a terrible idea.
Strong way in, I agree.
Yeah, they should save it for the last for sure.
T-Bo?
But
I hope
apparently
she,
she's gonna
hope
go
she,
first.
yep.
That's the reporting.
Better change that video title, man. You're gonna get an extra 5,000 viewers.
I mean, she doesn't go first. I mean, she's gotta go right away because
45,
Yep.
I'll come back and entertain your motions at that time, okay? All right.
11:45 the time. So quarter to 6. Quarter to 5.
So
Perfect,
again, questions that they should have asked that expert involved. Did you factor in the timing of the op-ed into your calculations? Yes. Tell me about this endorsement deal that he forewent in 2016. You said that even though he did not realize those earnings, that would have a significant impact on his potential to earn, which is part of your calculations, right? Yes.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
Endorsement for Johnny?
What was that? Sorry.
Yeah, what's a typical endorsement for Johnny?
Right. He said it was based on what someone said. So it's like, well, what was that? What amount was that? I don't remember that testimony. Maybe it's probably from a deposition. And then the other question is, you kept saying just factoring in earnings, which is a really important thing.
No, nobody did.
Will earn a ton of money from residuals due to all of the Pirates movies, any of the merchandising and all of that stuff, which he's going to get that no matter what. This is about opportunities that were missed. And I don't think they had him adequately explain the difference between earnings and earning opportunities in his calculations. Personally, I think that would have been a better way to go. But they really should have finished this case out with Richard Marks, because that guy was just heroically funny, in my opinion. But
I get why they did it this way to kind of explain the numbers at the end, but yeah, I mean, it was not a great finish, in my opinion. And basically all he did was regurgitate other testimony and say, well, here's how we get to this complicated calculation of 40 million. We take 22.5 million and we add 17.5 million to it. So like,
nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do we need an expert to tell us that? And then on cross, again, something lawyers do that Nick pointed out a lot of people don't like is they can mix expertise and say, well, he's the valuation damages guy, but he's not the causation guy, but let's ask him all the causation questions so that we can show how he's not testifying causation, which makes it seem like they're not proving causation, which is just a totally separate witness, separate line of questioning. But
yeah, it's the other thing I really hate when lawyers who are involved in this stuff as the guys who end up drafting the contracts very frequently pretend that a deal gets made and a contract is, or that a deal is not made until a contract is inked and signed. That's insane. lawyers, we had testimony. They didn't focus on it.
Back over
I
at
think it was remarks where he said- it was
5:45.
either him or Wiggum, who said that oftentimes the contract will follow
At
the
5:45
start of the
of 5:15.
production. They'll already
I'll be away from my
produce
time.
the movie,
But
and
I
then
leave
the
15
contract
one.
will
No.
arrive, and then they'll go ahead and sign off. That's
I think they both may have said that, because I know Wiggum said it's very common in Hollywood for us to get everything
Yeah, right about it. Oh, yeah.
and have the lawyers draft the contract, which is how it works in life.
Yeah, it's crazy. Again, just as an idea about how this works. The Doritos Taco Bell crossover, the Dorito Shell Taco, was reportedly done entirely on a handshake. It's like $1 billion deal between two major companies. There's not a contract written on this thing. It was literally, or at least to start, it was reportedly a deal between two CEOs, two executives. They like, hey, should we put Doritos into a taco shell? Yeah, it's a good idea. There you go. It's done. And then there will be lawyers to work out the particulars, or they may just use UCC principles or something in that line of work. But oftentimes there is not a
Maybe here. I've been a while. I've found that up
and
here.
lawyers pretending like, well, there had to be. You haven't seen a contract, have you? It's like, oh, come on, stop it. This is Johnny Depp's agent talking to the one of the top level executives at Disney and Jerry Bruckheimer himself, saying, yeah, we're going to get this deal done, $22.5 million. I can tell Johnny we're go for this. He can clear his schedule. This is what's going to happen. Once that's in place, it's done. You have the deal, barring some other thing. And
it's also very common for none of it to be in writing. Like none of this is an email or text where it's like, what about 22 or what about 23? Or are we going to cut Johnny because of the TRO or because of the domestic violence? Like you're not texting that to each other or emailing that to each other. That's normal.
Yeah. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. There's no way you're going to have an executive explaining their decision to not cast someone for any number of legal liability reasons.
Definitely not today's day and age.
And that executive definitely does not want to be called to the stand to testify about it either. And so if you can't pin him down on a statement, yes. That way, if you try and depose him, he can just say, we